To simply call it bogus, as the president did again today, is to call the work of so many intelligence, counterintelligence, and other career public servants bogus. To call the FBI tainted or in tatters and target of one of its top officials by name, well...
40 years. Are you telling me that the now elected Trump administration didn't trust John Brennan, that somehow these straight arrow guys in our intelligence services were going to now work to actively undermine? Are they now seeing them as some sort of dissident that we're going to undermine?
I mean, he's going after these people personally. You don't think that that is somehow having a chilling effect, or that it could be in the eyes of the law?
Part of this broader pattern here of smearing the Department of Justice and the FBI in ways to try and benefit the president, you know, personally and politically.
The whole project of throwing dirt on Robert Mueller, throwing dirt on his investigation, attacking the FBI, attacking the Department of Justice, is to shape that battle space. That's what Senator Warner sees. He's right to see it. He's right to be alarmed, because the harm, the pollution from that besmirching doesn't stop just with this holiday. It continues to...
And these attacks on Robert Mueller are disgusting. Robert Mueller was at the FBI picking up the pieces after 9/11. He was a loyal Republican appointed by President Bush. He's a good man.
They will have a hard time smearing Bob Mueller the same way, not just because of Bob Mueller's hard-earned reputation as a public servant. They will have a hard time smearing Bob Mueller if they ever try to in the future.
And people accusing him of bias are liars, flat-out liars. And I've been a Republican for 30 years, but I'm not going to put up with those types of scumbags in my party attacking a good man like Robert Mueller, who is a loyal American, patriotic. He was a Marine. He is the straight arrow that we need in charge of this investigation. The FBI also should not be attacked. If anything, the FBI director, James Comey, threw the election to Donald Trump with that letter right before the election.
Rich, Jim Comey tweeted this out this morning, has been a public servant for 25 years, working on national security and counterterrorism issues. I know how much he's lost sleep protecting people like you and me, and they're just smearing him like they're smearing everybody else, because all that matters is protecting Trump and not getting at the bottom of this. Is part of the smear.
William Binney, you worked for the National Security Agency for more than 3 decades.
Almost 4.
You, for a time, directed the NSA's World Geopolitical and Military Analysis Reporting Group.
Well, I was the technical director of that group that basically looked at the world. So we looked at all the technical problems of in the world and see how we could solve collection, analysis, and reporting on military and geopolitical issues all around the world, every country in the world.
Pompeo was sent to a meeting 2 weeks ago, a meeting that the president wanted him to have with a conspiracy theorist claiming the DNC hack may have been an inside job.
Is named William Binney, used to be with the NSA, now has been putting this theory out there.
Sources say Pompeo met with a conspiracy theorist some 2 weeks ago at the request of President Trump. The sources say the president asked Pompeo to meet with William Binney. Binney is a former National Security Agency employee who circulated a conspiracy theory.
Someone who many in the intelligence community view as a conspiracy theorist on this, who proffers this idea that this was, at least the DNC hack, was actually an inside job. And he believes the leak was an inside DNC job.
Why does he need to meet with this guy?
Well, I've often accepted for a working hypothesis, a position that I look at and after a while turn around and say, you know, I don't think I had that exactly right.
This is a man named William Binney. He used to work for the National Security Agency back in the day. He left that job 17 years ago. He's kept very busy, though. Here he is on Russian state-sponsored TV, RT. He expounds the theory that that is a hoax. He says the hack of the Democratic National Committee was actually an inside job. The DNC hacked itself to make itself lose. On the Alex Jones Show, Bill Binney laid out his case that the DNC didn't just hack itself. Actually, what happened was that the DNC was hacked by the intelligence community itself to make Donald Trump look bad. And what? No, that doesn't make sense, but it's a very Baroque sort of plot if you think about it. Or if you don't think about it, you just let it wash over you.
And the act of meeting
gave some throw weight to this conspiracy theory that it really, really didn't deserve.
If this was a hack, that the NSA would know both the point of transit, in other words, they would know who was the sender and they would know who the recipient was of the hacking material. They would know because of the comprehensive surveillance that they're able to carry out and do carry out on the World Wide Web. What the CIA is saying and what the Obama administration is saying is that based on circumstantial evidence, they've concluded that there was a Russian hack. In other words, there would be no need at all for circumstantial evidence if the NSA has access to this kind of information, and if the hack took place, they would know about it, they would be able to trace it.
That's correct, yeah. My point is really pretty simple. There should be no guessing here at all. They should be able to show the trace routes of all the packets, or some of them anyway, going to the Russians and then from the Russians to WikiLeaks. There's no excuse for not being able to do that, and that would be the basic evidence to prove it.
Have you spoken to anyone with credibility currently inside the U.S. intelligence community who disputes this January assessment?
No, I think it's widely considered the truth.
Take a look at all those headlines, as a matter of fact.
And we need to make our system protected, not just against Russian interference, but also against private corporations, for example, who control our voting software and who have a stake in the outcome of the election. This system needs to be protected so that Americans can have faith and confidence in it.
Okay, I'm for all of that. But now take me inside the dinner you had with Vladimir Putin in 2015 and the prominence that it afforded. You know the theory. Any vote for Stein is a vote that otherwise would have gone to Hillary. What was that dinner all about? Tell me about it.
And it's funny, Michael, you have to ask, why is that picture kicking up a storm right now? You know, I think it's very related to the fact that the Democrats are looking for someone to blame. Can they blame us for the loss of 1,000 legislative seats over the past 10 years, for the loss of 2/3 of governors? So Democrats might wish and they might assume that they own green votes, but they don't own green votes. Candidates have to earn our votes. And Hillary Clinton did not earn the votes of Greens, and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump did not earn the votes of neither Greens nor 45% of the American people who refused to vote for either of these two candidates.
Okay, but guess who else was at that gala and sitting at the same table as Flynn and Vladimir Putin? Jill Stein, the Green Party's 2016 presidential candidate. Now the Senate committee is investigating Russia's interference in last year's election. They're also asking for materials related to Stein's campaign.
Is your response to the Senate Intelligence Committee looking into whether your campaign was colluding with Russia?
You know, there was an effort to change the topic from the collusion of the Democratic Party to eliminate Bernie Sanders, which was, you know, essentially a rigged primary. There was an effort to kind of divert attention, and the picture or elected officials.
But you were at Vladimir Putin's table, which is part of what is raising questions among investigators. Let me just ask.
What is the story behind that photo taken at that state dinner?
The story is pretty straightforward.
Okay, so if it is as innocuous as you've just laid out, why is the Senate Intel Committee investigating you? And do you think that Russia meddled in the 2016 election?
You know, I haven't seen the evidence. I would love to see that evidence to know. I think we need some rules of the road that can be applied across the board.
Well, when you say that you haven't seen the evidence that Russia hacked or that there was Russian meddling, I mean, I just yesterday spoke to Senator James Lankford, who talked about he's trying to pass legislation because he's on the Intel Committee and the evidence is so overwhelming to him. Let me just read to you what he says here. During the 2016 election, intelligence reports have factually established that Russia hacked presidential campaign accounts. Why don't you believe the Intel evidence that's been presented? In other words, when the Intel community says they have evidence of Russian digital fingerprints on the DNC computers, you want to see the physical Cyrillic letters. Yeah! Yes! I mean, what more do you physically want to see than what they've said has allowed them to conclude that, yes, Russia meddled?
So let's start with the fact that our intelligence agencies should be allowed to examine the DNC server. And the DNC refused to allow the FBI to do that.
Understand how there would be an analysis that says Vladimir Putin was reading the tea leaves in the United States and thought, bring Jill Stein to dinner. Anything. I know you had a meeting as well with Sergei Lavrov, and that you went into Red Square and recorded those moments, meaning anything he can do to give you prominence.
And important policy initiatives that are getting short shrift. You know, for the students who are locked into a lifetime of predatory student loan debt, for workers who do not have adequate jobs, for people who don't have health care and deserve health care as a human right, which actually pays for itself, doesn't cost us anymore.
What was Jill Stein doing at that dinner, and what could these Senate committees be looking for? I mean, it wasn't like the dinner took place at the Waldorf in Midtown. It was in Moscow.
I had no idea why she was there or why General Flynn was there. Very bizarre, and you don't just end up accidentally, as has been suggested sometimes in the past, at a table with President Putin. That happens for a reason.
Talking about orphans.
But what you should know is that RT has been very friendly to Jill Stein and the things that she stood for. So when you go and you appear at an event like that, you are cooperating with the Russian government to achieve their foreign policy political objectives.
I don't ostracize, and I like to hear from all points of view. Even the guy who called me, you heard what he called me.
That's all you are. You're a piece of
That last part, by the way, directed at me. I'm the establishment well, you heard it.
I don't care what anybody say. I'm going to carry on in my own way. People can talk just as much as they may. Every knock is a boo.